Hi and welcome back to another video. And as you may know by the title, I have completed yet another book following my own 50 pages per day challenge, and my last book was The Success Principles by J. Canfield, and today I have completed one more book which is named The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen R. Covey. And let me be frank that after reading The Success Principles, I was very skeptic that I would find yet another book that would have such an impact on me, because it covered most of the things. So as the title suggests, it has got 7 habits of highly successful people, and not just the habits, but he goes quite in depth in each of them and how you can implement them in your own lives and what impact would they have. Like what consequences would they have. So what I'll do in this video is that I'll share all of those 7 habits with you and just briefly explain like what I learned from them and how I would be trying to implement them in my life now. And just let me be clear right now, for this book and for the previous one, The Success Principles, which was the last video, it's not a one-time read, okay? Like, it's not something you can read in a week and you're done with life. It's something you should continue reading and trying to then implementing those things. So it's a lifelong thing. It's not a one-time read, definitely not, because it's a lot of stuff in there. So before I jump into the first habit, so Stephen has actually created this diagram sort of thing in which there are 2 triangles and an entire circle. So the bottom triangle is your private victory, your upper triangle is the public victory, and the entire circle is just bringing the entire thing together, right? So each of the triangles has got 3 habits in them which will enable the person to achieve that victory. So first we'll start from the private victory, because that's where he started from. So the first habit he said in that triangle to achieve private victory was you need to be proactive. So what is proactive? So proactivity is actually taking initiative, right? Not waiting for anyone else to do something, but taking the initiative yourself, being adventurous, and not waiting for the opportunity to come up to you, but making the opportunity out of all the resources you have, to stop complaining, to stop making excuses, but instead of making excuses, again taking action and solving those problems yourself and moving forward. That was the first habit, being proactive. The second habit was begin with the end in mind. So this is a very cryptic habit, like the name, but what does it actually mean is, if you are starting out on a journey, like if you take your life for example, if you take your career for example, then if you're trying to like plot a course through this life, through your career, you should know what is the end, like what is you are working on. So what Stephen did in his book is he actually used a very good analogy to explain this, and what he said is you can consider working for your career like climbing a ladder, right? So if you're climbing the ladder, that means you're working hard, and which is good. But if that ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, then even after all that hard work, when you are at the top, you would find out that was not the end you were working for. This is how he emphasized that the most primary thing you should first of all clear is that what is the end that you're working on. Begin with the end in mind and then work for it. In this way you can be certain that the thing you're working hard towards is something you really want. And it's not a one-day thing that you just wake up and say, oh, I like a career in computer science, so I'll pursue that. No, you have to take a lot of time, you have to research a bit, you have to talk to people, you really have to connect with your inner guidance, because we all have one, and just find what really makes you bring to the most joy, and then work hard towards it. So that was habit number 2. So habit number 3 was put first things first. So often what we do is, we know if something is very important but it's tough, so we try to procrastinate and keep it for for the latter stages and do the less meaningful and the more meaningless task first. But that's not the way to do. You should put the first things first, and you should try delegating stuff to other people so that you can free up time and energy to focus on the things which you really want to do, which are more important to you. And delegating is also a very essential tool and a very essential technique or skill that you should have. It's very important for management skills, which he also touched on in this book. And again, I'll just emphasize, he touched on a lot of things in this book. I cannot talk about each of them because this would take a lot of time. So delegating is one more thing you should really master. Like, I know many of us pride in saying that we don't need anyone else, we can do this by ourselves. But what they really don't know, that they are doing too much work, they are wasting their energy and if on several things, and what would it do is it would deplete their energy for the tasks which are very important to them. So put first things first and delegate the things which are not that much high in your priority to other people who you can trust to pull them off. Don't just abandon them, delegate them to the people you trust. After these 3 habits, your private victory, which is your independence, you would have achieved that. And I know it's no easy feat, it would take a lot of time, but these 3 habits can help you achieve independence. And beyond that, you have to work for interdependence, which is public victory. You have to, you can say, work on your relationships with other people. So to master that, to achieve public victory, these are the 3 habits which you need to master. For the 4th habit, he said in the book, was you have to think win-win. Okay, so we all have this scarcity mentality, this scarce mentality, in which we think that there's only one job and I need to get to. Like, if a person wins, if any other person's win is our loss, which is not the way to think through life, because there will always be a person who's better than you. At your job and in your academics, in your career, there will always be someone who's better than you. So this scarce mentality is actually very negative, and you should definitely not have it, because it's not what successful people do. What they do instead is they have abundance mentality, in which they open themselves to several possibilities, to collaboration. They believe that there is a lot of opportunities out there, right? And there is enough for everybody. You don't need to compete with everybody else for the same position. You have your own life, they have their own lives, they have their own goals, you have your own goals. So this abundance mentality is something you should really encourage in yourself. So that was habit number 4. The 5th habit Stephen touched was seek first to understand, then to be understood. Right? So this is a very important habit, I think, which is lacked in our community a lot. That is the importance of empathic listening. Empathic listening means like in our society, people listen to respond to that person, right? When a person is telling their own problem, what they are doing is they are playing their own narrative, their own autobiography in their minds, and their first response is, oh, I have faced this problem as well. Oh, I have done this in my life as well. So this listening to with an intent to respond with your own life experience, that's not the way to go. What you need to do first is you need to understand that problem. You first need to listen to understand, and that is called empathic listening. You just don't need to understand like what they are going through. You need to feel that. You need to show that through your words, through your actions, through your body language. That is empathy. So you should practice empathy. The 6th habit, and I think this is the most powerful one out there, is of synergize. Now, what does synergize actually mean? Because it's a very fancy word. So synergy, simply defined, it means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It means that the relationship which the parts have to each other is a part in and of itself. It is not only a part, but the most catalytic, most empowering, the most unifying, and the most exciting part. So what synergy actually encourages is you should try to appreciate differences. In our world, it's a very divided world. We don't appreciate differences. If we have a very diverse team, we see it as a threat to unity. But what we should do instead is we should appreciate the difference, the different point of views, and be more open, practice more creativity, find new paradigms, just build something new. That was habit number 6. And the final habit, which is not in any of the triangles, is sharpening the saw. That is the 8th habit. And I know sharpening the saw is very vague, but what it actually means is it's about renewal. It's about renewal of yourself. And Stephen actually dissects renewal of yourself as well. He dissects it into 4 different paradigms, into 4 different dimensions, if you will. The first one is your physical dimension, then it's your spiritual dimension, then it's your mental dimension, and your emotional dimension. These 4 dimensions, you need to renew them, make yourself more receptive to the different habits Stephen talks about previously. And while doing all of this, one term which he has talked about in this book is of paradigm shift. Your paradigm is the world around you, how you see your world. It has your values, it has your decisions, your actions, everything is your paradigm, how you think, your mentality. And after all of these habits, what you will face is a paradigm shift. Your whole world will change, because these are pretty powerful stuff, right? So this was my second book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I know it's a long video, but it was a lot of content. So that was my second book. I'll be starting one more book, but what I'm thinking of doing now is moving into a fiction genre, because let's face it, it's a lot of information in 2 weeks time. So maybe I'll be going for a fiction book. But that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And a subscribe to the channel would be much appreciated, because if you like this sort of content. And yeah, that would be all for today. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.